Okay, sorry. It's been a minute since I've ran a meeting. I feel like it's my first day. Okay, thank you all for attending the board meeting tonight. Michael, as you can tell, is gone, and so I am filling in tonight, and hopefully I'll be able to remember how to do everything. First, we'll start out with Accentuate the Positive. Kaylin, would you like to go first?
Sure. Is this working?
Yes.
Okay. As you know, there's been lots going on everywhere, not just at the high school, but I'm really excited. And first, just want to start by saying thank you to you all for starting the school year out by talking about family engagement. I know that that conversation had been happening long before I came on board, but we were able to jumpstart a couple of things over the last few weeks that we're really excited about at the high school. First, we hosted our open house on the 19th, and we had a better turnout than we've had in the last several years. I think we looked at about 150 families that were able to attend. Our staff signed up and hosted breakout sessions. And so I wanted to give a shout out to those staff members. Before I do that, I just want to say all of our staff members had a hand in what was going on that night, from serving burgers to cutting up lettuce to meeting and greeting families. And so it was a great night to meet people and just expand some capacity for families about different things. So we had breakout sessions that offered anywhere from like, how do you earn college credit in high school, all the way to how do I access Power School, to, hey, do you want to host some homecoming float building opportunities? And staff was really proud of what they were able to pull together, and we're hoping that next year we're able to do that even better. So John Cornett and Clint Roderick, Carolina Campbell, our SPED team, Megan Sandlin, Sophie Gordon, Kelly Seaborg, and Kelly Reed at the time, Kelly Fong Johnson, Ann Zaki. We had Mr. Jones, Mr. Rodriguez, Jessica Collins, Mr. DeRost, who did some stuff on band. And if you were there, you could hear the band. They did awesome. Miss Mendoza, Miss Carlson, Miss Redding, and Miss Robin were just some of the people who stepped out. And so I want to make sure that you all knew how, I mean, they're always hardworking, but some just exceptional stuff that night. Additionally, we had a family engagement team that we were able to form, and we met with Sherry Wilson on the 28th, and we're able to do a engagement 101 PD session, really valuable conversation about how we're engaging families, proud of the work that we've already been doing, but had some clear articulation of where we need to go. So we're excited about that. We also are really looking forward to our homecoming festivities. Next week, we kick off the week with a assembly tomorrow. So our leadership team has been working really hard. I'm sure Miss Robin is probably still here. So we'll probably be here until we leave. So if you want to swing by and say hi, she'll be here. We have Powder Puff and He-Man volleyball and our awesome parade on Wednesday. We have our homecoming game on Friday, and then a dance right after that, which will be hosted by our multicultural club. It'll be the first time that they've done that, but they are pulling out all the stops. Pretty sure that there's like a riding bull, a mechanical bull. Maybe it's like some really fun, cool stuff, some good food, and it's going to be really fun for kids. So we're excited about that. And then last, probably a highlight of mine, we started an instructional leadership team at the high school. Really excited to be able to go back to conversations about instruction as a teacher, just being able to prioritize those things moving forward and not necessarily having to talk about, you know, masks or sanitizing or those kinds of things, but really like, where are we at instructionally and where do we want to go? And so those are some awesome things that have been happening at the high school. Thank you for the opportunities and your support in those.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Holden. I'm the principal of Talent Middle School. It's so nice to be here in this beautiful building. I do get a little envious, I have to admit. It's so pretty. Everything's so pretty. Yeah, tonight we just want to recognize a few things. We want to thank the Boys and Girls Club for starting up the club again at Talent Middle School. It's been really great to have them on campus. They're doing a great job, and it's just been nice to kind of recultivate that partnership with them at our middle school level. So I really appreciate that. Big thank you to Derek Rodman, who's taken on as our athletic director this year. He's done a great job. He wears a lot of hats in this district, but he really is very skilled when it comes to organizing. and just making sure that everything's running smoothly. So we're having really, really successful athletic programs for our students right now for the fall season. So I really appreciate that. As well, our back to school night was a success. We had a great turnout. I really want to shout out to Erica Ochoa for all of her organizational efforts. She's really been leading up our family engagement efforts. And that evening was a huge success because of all of her thought and organization and effort in that. And yeah, we got positive feedback that parents were excited to be on campus and they're excited to learn about all the things that they learned. And it just felt like a good positive start to the school year as well. And last shout out is to Joe Zavala, who came over and kind of helped our office staff today learn a little bit more about our communication systems and how we can make sure that we're able to get information out to our parents, both on a consistent, regular basis, but also if we needed to on a kind of quick turnaround situation. I just wanted to make sure that we had those skills. And so it was really helpful to meet with Joe and make sure that we had all the tools that are available to us. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I have to always share a story because I don't have very much to share, and this is just the way I can represent it. Okay, so I had the wonderful opportunity to be introduced to pear picking. I've never had that opportunity before. I've done that a couple midnight. It was lots of fun. Anyway, one particular time I was with an expert pear picker, and we're on a platform, and you're harnessed in so you don't fall off the platform. Anyway, you can only reach so far. I am short in stature. I have no reach. The expert pear picker was on the opposite side of me, came over to my side and was able to pick farther than me. And I was like, how are you doing that? But it was just, at first I'm a little competitive. So I'm like, whoa, I need to do a better job. But then I got to the point of like, no, my reach is only so far. And I learned to appreciate the extra effort. And I say that in relation to our families. We had our fall family night. About 49% of our students came, which is about 47 students represented, which is great. And the work that we do is impossible without the family support, that extra reach that I cannot make within the school. As a family engagement team, the goal they have is 100% of our families at least go to one event. We want all of them in our school. The other thing is we are revising the PTA, and I just want to give a shout out to that. It is a huge deal. It's like you're coming at 6 or 7 o'clock at night, you've done a full day of work, and these parents are coming in to give more of their time to create activities that will take more of their time. So I'm so grateful for the PTA and all that they do, and all the family engagement. The last thing is we do a self-manager program at Orchard Hill, and we were able to invite parents to this and watch their students receive the self-manager award. And the parents lined up and did like the cheer tunnel. So the kids run down and the parents are all cheering. And it's like, yes, that is how it's possible. Like these parents need to understand the impact they really do have on their kids. It's not us that are making the self-managers, but it's the kids at home. So thanks to parents.
Good evening, board. Heather Lowe, Talent Elementary. I feel like I could go, this is Groundhog's Day for Accentuate the Positive. Sorry, I have to go last. Jeez. Actually, I make Shauna go last because I have first. Aha. Just like everybody's been talking about last week, was pretty magical in the world of our family engagement work. We also had a great turnout and just a real big appreciation for District 5. They came out and grilled our hamburgers and hot dogs, and our PTA and our staff. It was a big undertaking, and it's a re-envisioning of our work and how we engage families when we bring them on campus. So just thank you to them. Also, I want to share that yesterday, we had our kind of second round of leadership team meetings, which went exceptionally well in that people have had a little bit time to settle into school and kind of get ready for setting goals. What are the action steps we're going to take to meet our school improvement goals? So it went really well. We've got creative, fun ideas moving forward for the year. Also want to share that we had our vision screening school-wide. We had about 20% of our kids get flagged for needing another round, so thank you to the Lions Club for providing that services, and then Carrie McDonald for helping coordinate that. So And then we had hearing for K1. So like we're getting all those little kids taken care of in services that they might not get at their home site. Also want to share, speaking of homecoming, my dream might come true. We just got the parade lineup and the Mustangs are behind the equestrian team. And I hope Breezy did that on purpose. I'm like, no way. This is amazing. I might just get on a pony. I don't know. We are really excited to participate in it and bring that back. And our PTA is really supporting that work to make kind of that festivity a little bit more back at the elementaries as well. Lastly, I wanted to share our enrollment is up, and I'm really excited to see that. We've been kind of tracking that along in comparison to our FTE and all the things that we have to worry about. But we're up about 28 kids from the start of the year, which is great. Tells me there's promising hope for more kids coming back to talent. So then I'm going to step into Shauna's shoes and say, oh my gosh, family engagement was amazing. Literally, she said was amazing. She said she had great feedback from her families and I had about 50% of her families show up and are looking forward to expand that participation rate. She wanted to send a shout out to Heidi Roberts for recently organizing a walk to school for it because the kids loved it. I bet you guys here in Phoenix got to see some of that coming in, especially the DO folks. And then she wanted to say a big thank you to Amy and Tessa from Sodexo for helping feed the families for family night. She said the fire crew also came and grilled them some hot dogs, and she wanted to publicly thank Brian Bolstad for doing all that work. And just a many thanks to her partners. So that's it.
Thank you, Heather. Amy Hans here, food service. And yeah, as Heather and Shauna said, we, want to thank the principals for allowing us to be part of the family nights. We really, get to see all the kids, but it's great when we get to be on site and meet some of the families and parents as well. So our extremely exciting, and you'll have to forgive me if I start jumping up and down because I'm so excited, but food service just got notice that we were awarded to join FFVP, which is our fresh food and vegetable program at Talent Elementary and Orchard Hill Elementary. So starting October 17th, when we come back from our long weekend, we're going to have our mid-morning educational snack at all of the elementaries. And we're just so excited. So if you guys don't know anything about this program, I, coming from nutrition background, love to do this menu because I will go through my United Salad order guide and I'll look and I'm like, what's the craziest thing they have available? What haven't I tried yet? Oh my goodness, honey glow pineapple. Wow, how is that different? I want to try it. And so this is so fun for me to get to make this menu and introduce these children to new fresh fruits and vegetables. I make a little educational piece that the teachers help share with the kids while they enjoy the snack. And it's, I think, something that's been going on in Phoenix Talent long since before me, but we've always kept it at Phoenix Elementary. And it was really something that touched my heart that I wanted to make part and available in the district to all of the elementary students. So thanks to Heather and Brandon for helping support this with us. And we're really excited to get it going. Then the other positive thing that's kind of a selfish positive thing, thanks to John, I'm actually moving on site now. So we are now going to have a food service office. I'll be stationed with John and his crew. And I am so excited to come on board and be part of Phoenix Talent and really just be available a little closer for everyone.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have just one thing. I know it's crazy. I just wanted to give a shout out to the new culinary arts teacher whose name I should have looked up before I did a shout out for him. And Dave Earhart for, I think, suggesting it. The culinary arts students are cooking the burgers at the barbecue at the football games. And I just really appreciate the thoughtfulness of giving them the opportunity to really put skills into play and getting to see them. And they did a fantastic job and was really super fun. So kudos to Dave and also to the teacher. Who, someone tell me his name, please. John Barber, thank you to Mr. Barber for, those are some long days. Those are some long days. And also to, when I come over to an evening athletic event, I see Maria Thompson, Jim Redding, and Dave Earhart and Aaron Hall so I know there's some long days put in. So appreciate those staff members being around for doing the extra work. Thanks. If I missed anyone.
Thank you. Any more Accentuate the Positive?
I have a couple. I went to the back to school barbecue and the family engagement night at Talon Elementary, and it was amazing. The first part of it was just eating and playing with the kids on the playground. There's different booths set up and different activities. The second part, the kiddos kind of hung out and did their thing while the parents went and learned, and that was really cool. I could tell there was a lot of parents that didn't know that they're, how to engage with their child. And that was very, I think, empowering and encouraging. Also want to shout out to Zach Boyd Helm, AKA Mr. B, at Talon Elementary School. He's amazing. I've met with him multiple times. He helps my child, and I just want to shout that out to him.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we will go on to citizens' comments. I know we have one, so I will read the statement real quick. As a reminder, the school board meetings are meetings of the school board held in public, not meetings of the public. As general rule, the board will not engage in discussion with the public during this portion of the meeting. When your name is called, come forward and state your name. I don't think anyone's joining us virtually, your address, and identify your organization, if any, that you represent. Keep your remarks brief and respectful for 3-minute time limit. Complaints about staff members cannot be discussed in open session and must be handled through the complaint process. Oh, you're not? Well, I said that for nothing. You gave me practice. You gave me practice. I haven't had to say that in months. So, okay, moving on to Superintendent Report.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I have a few things. John and I and Sergeant Lehman met with City of Talent representatives and some representatives from the state on safe routes to school. So the City of Talent applied for a grant to do some planning around this, and we're really looking forward to kind of a year of study on how we can improve and really getting some data on what project we really want to focus on and try to identify funding sources to get that done. So that's a really exciting part of my goal this year is to continue to kind of reshape how we serve students and families. And by doing that, we've recreated some organizational charts. We brought them some new staff members and to provide that clarity, not only for our administrative team, but also our staff in the schools and our school board, if you want to look at that as well. We've done that with the district office administration and support staff, and our departments will be doing that as well with facilities and technology. In your blue folders, you'll see ATI's renewal request. They're in their final year, which seems so quick to me if you've been on the board for a while, but this is the final year of a 5-year contract, and they're requesting that contract to be renewed, and there's a process for that. And the first process is asking for that process to start by ATI. So Summer wrote a letter to the board, and we will continue to move forward in that process. I also added a list of key dates. Denise put that together after our last contract with ATI, and we are coming up on some times to do a walkthrough at ATI. I know that was many board members that have been here a little while have done that and participated in that. If you would like to do that, I'm going to put out some dates that will work, and if you can make it to do the walkthrough, I think this will be exciting too, assuming its ATI contract is renewed, their plans for that facility as well. So, in your folders as well, maybe is the CSA UGB thing. Okay. Okay, you have the status on the UGB, and get right to the chase, it's still completely frustrating with the lack of urgency on the municipalities end. And so you see a timeline of what, and that just goes back to, I think, 2020. This started before then. And our date that we're looking at to continue with this UGB process is not until January, which is unacceptable to us. And so if there's no objections, we'd like to continue to push harder for an earlier date and to get this moving a lot sooner. Our partners with Little League, Boys and Girls Club, our funding sources are on a timeline essentially. So we're going to push back a little bit, and we'll continue to update you on that. Finally, in your blue folders as well is a contract for bargaining support. We Assistant Superintendent Jessica Hamlin's been researching some options for this with attorneys throughout the state, and we have a good connection with this new firm that we have not used before, but it was pretty exciting about what they had to share and their knowledge of statewide bargaining information. And so that is something that we're going to pursue and have them on board for this year. We always have bargaining support by our council on board, but we felt this year we could maybe see about what support is out there. And so we shopped that a little bit. We're really excited about it. And that is the end of my report, Vice Chair.
Thank you very much. Any
bet.
questions for Brent?
Not a question, but I would just say, yes, please still push forward.
I figured you might.
So it's like the county, it's gonna be easy. Oh, here we go. And I appreciate too that you clarifying that we've had legal support in the past going on, because I didn't know that. So I was a little disheartened that we were heading this direction, but I'm thankful to know
Yeah.
that it's just a continued support.
Absolutely. And getting back to the UGB, it might need board involvement as well. And I'll let the board know how they can be involved if we continue to push on the timing of that. So.
This seems like it's been like 5 years. Am I wrong on that? Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, this was way back when I think it was around the same time we started the bond. And I'm like, we got this and we're still waiting on the other piece.
And we've been very patient, and this is an easy win for, I think, the city and the county, because if you listen to the council meetings, there was never really an objection for our piece of property in the UGB. It was the right of way. And now that that's separate, there's no reason for this to wait. So.
Well, thank you so much. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. And I don't, for some reason on board book, I don't have what is in the consent agenda. I apologize. I'm sure. Thank you. Do I have a motion? Oh, thank you, Polly.
I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Sarah. Do I have a second? Thank you, Nancy. Any discussion? Hearing none, the consent agenda is moved. Sorry, this is the first time I ran a meeting with board book. I like the old paper way better. Just joking, Denise. I know this is easier for you. Action items, we have none, right? I don't see any. Moving on to information and discussion, which was facilities and bond update. John?
Can you hear me now? Well, I haven't had the good fortune to be in front of you since. Sorry, I have not had the good fortune to be in front of you since school started, actually. I was tied up both times you guys had meetings in September. So I'm just going to say summer went really well. We got a lot of projects done. TES's playground was a huge success and finished in time. That is largely due to you guys helping us out and letting us order the equipment as timely as possible. So thank you. We did a small remodel at the DO, and if you've been by there, it's much more efficient. I happen to like it a lot. Hopefully you do too. There were several projects that I was going to talk about, but we've already covered most of them through the summer because they were goals and my department. So the only thing I wanted to say was one of our big goals this year was to increase efficiency. And so we've worked on implementing a vet manager, Raptor, our new volunteer and visitor check-in. And so far, Raptor is a huge hit. And at the next board meeting, I think we plan to have you check in so that you actually get to experience it. And then I'll have some stats for you. It's been pretty incredible. So far, we've had 189 visitors in the last month, and you can actually see who was where, what they volunteered, or where they visited. It's pretty neat. I also will say that the training that we did right before school started with the staff, I was able to go over like the work ticket system and things like that. The staff's been phenomenal. The work tickets that they've put in, over 590 last month, 85% of which were completed in under a week. So kudos to my staff and kudos to all of the district staff that has been supporting them. And that's it for tonight.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Jinx. Any questions for John? Hearing none. Thank you very much, John. Moving on to financial update.
Yeah, next meeting we'll have an official financial report, but I do just want to mention that we have received the ADM security funding from the state for last year, actually. And Yasmin is going to meet with the business managers in the state of Oregon to make sure that they understand exactly how we can prioritize that money and when we need to spend it. Here's some of the challenges. They're given a short window to spend that money. And so we need to really kind of make sure the criteria fits on utilizing those funds. I'm confident we will be able to do that. But this also includes not just the state school fund, but the student investment account monies and the Measure 98 or high school success now. And those will, all three of those funding sources for last year will have a deadline of September 1st, 2023. So we'll need to spend those. And so we'll prioritize funding for that. And that's all I have, but that's good news. And they're working on 22, 23 funding sources as well, which hopefully we have a little more time for those funds to be spent and not the September date again. Otherwise, that may be a challenge and not as it was intended to do, basically.
Thank you. Any questions for Brent?
Can you give feedback on how challenging that could be if it's late as part of the budget process? I'm assuming I shouldn't assume. Is it because of the budgeting process?
Yeah, it's just a matter of kind of prioritizing that and moving. So those funding sources can be attached to additional personnel support, additional equipment, supplies, those types of things. And then we can utilize those other to put in the general fund. And so I think it's more of a Tetris challenge than anything else. So if that makes sense.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on to legislative and OSBA update. Do you want me to go first this time, Sarah? I think I made you go. So reminder that we're having the legislation roadshow in 2 weeks, Monday, the 24th. Like that's if you are planning to go, please let Denise know because ESD needs a head count on how many people are going to attend for dinner, and even if they're not attending for, even if you're not going to do dinner, please let Denise know. It's very informative. Sarah and I will be having a meeting. We're going to be more involved in this meeting than we have been in the past. We don't know what that means, but we're going to do that. And then OSBA, I went to OSBA meetings and a PACE meeting. One thing I learned about OSBA at the meeting is a lot of people don't know about PACE and the benefits of PACE. And being the PACE representative, I kind of spoke up because they're like, you need to tell us this. And I'm like, well, you need to go to PACE days and the workshops. And Dave Harvey, who does PACE, said I usually get 3 people at my workshop. So I'll probably give you guys more tidbits so we're up on above average on our knowledge of PACE. We talked about the Rural Schools Committee. I had another school board member ask, it was really hard to decide. We're still working on a definition of a rural school. So I think we're going to go on density based of the population of the district and district size for now. If a district got missed that feels like they're still rural, then they can file an appeal. It looks like there's only going to be a few, and then they can be accepted on why they're appeal. And then we'll start on the other information. And I don't know what else I know we talked about a lot at we have a new president and vice president, as you might have saw. And it was a couple of weeks ago and it was a whirlwind, but yeah, it was good. If you have any questions about that, let me know. Sarah, do you have anything to add? Oh, I have one more thing to add. Sarah and I are also working on getting a legislative summit for Southern Oregon together. We had our first meeting with Richard and Linnell, and we're talking. I haven't done much more than that. And my next thing is I talked to Brent. I want to see if the district can host it. And then I'm going to talk to the ESD if they're supposed to be able to help. And then we'll talk to the other districts. But my plan right now, and I think Sarah, is that to involve students kind of in an off way. So maybe the poor culinary arts teacher could maybe do dinner, because they said dinner and have dinner for the legislators. And it's like, we have a $500 budget and we have to do dinner, a room, and like all the stuff. So I'm like, why don't we think outside the box? And the other school districts, they pay for their dinners. And I was like, I don't know if I think we can figure out a way. So I think we're going to see if we can do dinner, and another school can maybe do dessert, and some other schools can maybe do like table pieces and centerpieces, and kind of have students involved so that the legislators can see like all the good things coming from all the schools in our district. So I'll keep you updated on more of that. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Can you give a brief, I know what it is, but could you tell a little bit about what it is that would happen that night? Like,
Well, we haven't had all the,
but you gave me a good description
Which-
about it the other
which
day.
night, the
Yeah,
road
this
show
last,
or
no,
the-
this
okay.
last thing.
Well, we haven't worked out all the bugs. We will have all the legislators from Southern Oregon region come. And our goal is to meet them, to make sure that we want to partner with them and let them know of what we are doing great at, but also what challenges that the districts are having. We don't want it to be like complain, but I think let them know what challenges and what kind of things that we would appreciate seeing in the next legislation session, and just let them know that we want to build a relationship. And I think that's the whole purpose, is to build a relationship and partnership, so that if there's a question, I know some legislators know this superintendents and call them and say, hey, can you explain this bill that just came on my desk? But I also, sometimes it would be nice for them to be able to have relationships with school board members as well, to know, so they can ask questions, because so much as you guys saw the last legislative session and the session before, some things are OSBA is trying to do a better job, but they're like up north problems and not down here problems. And so it's good to have them have a connection on like, do you see this being a challenge? Is this going to be helpful for your school? And kind of like bring that up, that we want to work in partnerships for our students. You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we're going on to equity, diversity, and inclusion.
Yeah, I just have a couple things. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Kelly Soder. Her impact in the first 3 months in this district as far as our directory of equity and community care is absolutely amazing. So thank you to Kelly Soder and her work. Part of that is, though we are not required, but really to establish an EDI advisory committee. And we had good interest, which was great. Joe put that out there a few times on social media and we let our families know. And we had a number of people, which was a pleasant surprise, to want to be involved, and some names that were new to involvement in the schools. And so we are finalizing that list now. In your packet, you will see a slide deck of Senate Bill 732, and it gives you some basic information. And since we aren't required to implement this until 2025 because of our school size, we are going to kind of fudge a little bit, because this says that, you know, school board representatives are not on the advisory committee. And I think this board has been very engaged in this work. And so if you want to be a part of this committee, we invite you to do so. It's a committee that is very diverse. I think it really represents the demographics of our school district, and it also has great representation from each of our 5 schools, which is exciting. And if you have any questions on that, feel free to contact me, or Kelly Soder would probably be better. So thank you.
Can I ask one quick question here instead of later?
Yeah.
What is the Aspire training? What is that?
Say again.
Aspire? Okay, so I saw that on your, is it the professional development schedule? I think it was referenced in this slide as well, and I just didn't know what it was. So rather than Google it, I thought it.
I have 2 questions. I can
Mhm.
ask them now. Or,
Yeah, you bet.
the first one is the budget committee. It mentioned a spot in the budget committee. Is that something that the staff was moving forward, since we have an opening on the budget committee? I was just, and is this committee going to be up and running enough to be at the budget committee? So, I mean, that's something we can discuss later, but that was one of the questions that came up.
Yeah. So as far as filling the representation on that, so that's still posted, correct?
Okay.
And so we'll continue to, and I encourage the board, if they have, you know, people in the community that want to apply for that, that's still a spot that we have open that we need to fill. We filled the other 2 last time, or a couple times ago.
Yeah, because in this one slide, it said
Oh, yeah.
in 2024 or whenever. So
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if we were going to implement that spot now, or if we were going to wait. That was my question.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I think that is up for discussion.
Okay.
We certainly can talk about it. I think just the makeup of the advisory committees first and foremost, so we're prepared and we don't have to switch as we to make sure it represents our demographics. We certainly can do that, but it's not necessarily required.
I was thinking it was going to be a close, you know, I thought, oh, that's going to be close.
Yeah,
So I was just
yeah.
curious.
No,
And my
absolutely.
other question is probably something we can talk about later too. It's once the committee is up, then the slide said something about the superintendent and the board approving the committee. And so I'm assuming that would be, it's further down the road.
Yeah, and that I think we won't get to those steps until we get closer to that 2025.
Oh, okay. So
So
this is just kind of like, we're just putting people in, kind of seeing so they can catch up on what we've done with equity work. So when it's time to do the committee, then where everybody's on board and
absolutely.
I don't know what the word
And there's
is,
a
but-
big kind of question or some talk going about if they're public meetings or if they're not public meetings. And so we're not going to necessarily have those meetings as a public meeting at this time. We'll wait to see how that all fleshes out by 2025. And they may by then say board representative is a good idea to have on this. And they may not, I don't know. So.
Well, it's another thing we can talk to the legislators
Yeah,
about when we have them, especially if we can build a relationship with them, then we can say, hey, this is what would work best for our district.
Yeah.
So.
But that's a good question. So this is our guideline. It's not necessarily, if you were a school of 10,000 plus students, you're required to do it this year. And that's, I think you could apply for a waiver. But yeah, we have a couple years to do that, but we are at a good time to kind of reestablish our EDI committee. And so we're building it now.
Okay, that makes sense. That answers a lot of questions. Thank you
Good.
so much.
Yeah,
for
you bet.
clarifying that. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Next, state report cards.
Yeah, in your packet, you got the state report cards. It was interesting that we did not get much media coverage at all on the state report cards. I think, they did a statewide share essentially about that the scores were down after the last couple of years, which I think we could have guessed. But it really gives us some data as a baseline to kind of improve on as we continue to move forward with our instructional engagement of our students and our families. So really excited to see how we move the dial this time next year on what we're reporting on. If you have any questions on that, you can certainly either make an appointment with me or talk to one of our administrators about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to inter-district transfer report.
Yeah. So well, you can see in your report, the transfers out. I just want to put your attention to grade 9 there, 14 transfers out. That's a pretty high number in our freshman year, higher than typical. Usually we have a large number at kindergarten because of childcare. Breezy and I looked at those today, as a matter of fact, on who are those kids, and those kids that weren't necessarily in our schools before, but they moved, which tells me that there's some residents opening up and that people are able to move into our district, which is a positive sign, but they wanted to stay connected with their peer group. And a lot of it was either mental health or programming that they wanted to continue to stay in their home district, wherever they may have been. And I was pretty lenient on those just with the last couple of years of a freshman, and we know that middle school data is showing that had the biggest impact during the COVID pandemic years. So, but just wanted to point that out to you. You saw the enrollment report last week, or maybe last meeting, that was pretty flat, which is a good sign as well. So this was a big fall numbers to see where we're going to be, because I think it's only up from here.
Any questions? It was nice to see we had more coming in than we did going out, it's typical. Thank you so much for that. JAB discussion. You want to start that out?
Go ahead.
So Michael, Brent and I, we did the agenda and we talked about it. And JABs kind of looked different the last few years. And we were wondering if what we wanted JAB to look like now. Some of the discussion was what it looked like previous to COVID. Probably it will not look like that again for various reasons. And last year we tried to pick a spot to do it more like restaurant, informal setting, but Denise and I tried, no one was taking big groups. So the question is, well, how do we want JAB to look like? And then it also came up, do we want JAB to be a meeting annually, or do we want to switch it up and have that data given to us when we're at that school, and then also move it more engagement where that school could then celebrate students and families at that school, and families could come and listen to the stats of their own school and make it more engagement. So Brent can back me up on anything I forgot.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's kind of like, what do we want to do kind of this year, and then maybe what it might look for next year, or we could do it the same each year. But we started asking, it's such a valuable time for the board and the administrators to kind of share, the administration to share reflection on their goals and then what they're working on this year. But sometimes it's kind of packed with now PTRA and ATI presenting in our 5 schools. It's quite a bit, and we may not be able to get all the questions answered. And so we were really looking at, what if we have that JAB type meeting as a program report at each school, to where they can invite the PTA, they can invite a program, they can invite kids and parents, and spread that out a little longer period of time. So that was just a discussion that we had. We typically, it doesn't work to do JAB as we've traditionally done it. And so we could look at doing it like we did last year. We did it in here with dinner before, or we can spread that out and have it more, I guess, intimate and meaningful for the schools and the presenting their data and their goals. So.
Okay, any questions or discussions or ideas that you have about JAB? And staff, we might be asking you questions shortly.
And JAB is the Joint Administration Board meeting.
I like the idea of going to school just because of the fact that our theme this year is kind of family engagement, and inviting families into the school to do that makes a lot of sense.
I think it's great to involve families. My one main concern is that it would take most of the year to get most of the program reports done because of how many schools we have. And sometimes that information coming off of the OSBA conference right before, it's a really great opportunity for the board to on kind of that high talk to administrators about things that we've learned at that conference, and to hear from them and how at the closer to the beginning of the year, how we can partner, especially going into a long legislative session. If we're waiting to hear 6 months from schools, it could be. And my only other concern is that that could be the focus of the program reports for this year, but that makes a lot potentially of longer board meetings if then we're adding additional program reports highlighting other great things that are happening in our district. So it's kind of nice to have the one longer kind of concentrated information, shared closer to the beginning of the year. So that's my 2 cents.
I thought about that too, because it would spread it out. And that's why I thought it may look different this year. We may have to keep it how we've done it this year and do it similar to what we did. But then when we're looking at our board calendar, to have that in mind for the following year. So I think staff is good either way. Well, you might want to ask them, but we talked about it at our ad team, and I think the feeling was that they would like some more time for question and answers and the more intimate feel to kind of show off what's happening at their school. But does that fit for this year or not? As we're scheduled, we've scheduled our board meetings. One thing I did think about it, if we did do this in the future, is instead of the whole month going to the same school, if 5 weeks in a row we went to different, so we could start in September and actually be done by the first meeting in November. So we could do that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I like that idea. I would like to, I think I've said this before, when I'm looking at you guys staff, sorry to put more on to your plate, but I would also, I feel like there's always like this one little like disconnect piece on the program on especially JAB is like, what can the school board do for you guys? And I know I talked about this a couple months ago, and I had some admin come up to me and say, I never even thought of that piece. So the example was the attendance policy. I've heard the attendance policies that you have to follow are maybe a little outdated. I've also heard that there's some vaping issues and maybe there's more supports that legislative can do for vaping. I'm sure there's a lot of other things. And so those kinds of challenges that we can actually, when we're talking to our legislators, in the first of the year, when we're doing our legislative roadshow, when Sarah and I are out advocating, and I'm sure many other people go to their legislators, that would be like a piece I feel like we're missing. And a piece that I would kind of like to fill in the gap personally, just because I feel like when I'm advocating, sometimes I'm missing it. And before I was in the high school a lot because I had kids in the high school. Now I don't. And so I feel like I'm going to be missing some of those tidbit stories I got from people in the past. Nice. So I would somehow like staff and families and, you know, teachers and everything, just to say, you know, this would be helpful if our hands weren't tied on this situation or whatever. So do we,
So did we just,
so do we want to do it like regular and then look into changing it when we do our board calendar into the segments?
I think that probably makes the most sense.
How long is the JAB meeting usually? Sorry to put you on the spot on this, because we talked about having more time. Is it something we could add a half an hour to make more time? Or
Yeah, we can do whatever we want on that.
okay.
So
I don't want to make it too long, but yeah. Or 5:30, and because it doesn't take, yeah. Okay.
as long as we know that, then we'll start getting some schedules out, and then the next meeting we'll have kind of a schedule of events to just plan for that. I think it's November 17th. Just kind of a draft of the timing and the template.
And we might need to add more time anyways, because I don't think ATI did last year and neither did PTR Rising.
ATI did, but
Okay.
PTRA did not. So we will have 7 presentations. So
Okay.
that'll increase that as well. So but I think it makes sense to keep that. We know that we can do that here or wherever we choose. And then when we plan the board calendar next year, we have that in mind.
Okay. Anything else we want to add before I move on?
Am I remembering incorrectly that the elementary schools kind of fed off of each other last year as far as shared data and then kind of individual highlights for each of the schools to look at more of an overall focus for the elementary program?
That's a good point. And it's so much, our elementaries are so lockstep now and cohesive. They do have some different aspects of them. So that is a joint presentation essentially, and then they share specifics. So yeah, thanks for reminding us of that.
Anything else? Okay, we are now for a recess. We'll take a short recess. Staff, you can leave. Thank you so much for staying and having this discussion with us. And we'll be back in 6 minutes. Okay, thank you all for the brief break. I don't think anybody's online. We're resuming to Division 22 standards.
Yeah, this is a different format and a different time of year, but it's more timely. We're reporting on last year's Division 22 standards. We need to do that by November this year. Typically, we've done it in February, and it just feels a little out of place. Thank you to Denise and Tiffany, and a lot of organizations have gathered that board policy, instructional hours, things of that nature. So we'll have a binder available. We do need to have a an official public meeting. Is this the first year we've had to do that? Oh, we did it last year apparently too. But we, similar to the public meeting for the budget, we will have to have prior to next board meeting an open Division 22. But we'll have that posted on our website soon after. And we're in compliance with all the Division 22 standards. Some were waived last year, but all of them will be in play this year. So that's it.
Thank you. Moving on to board policy IGBAF. It's in our packet for discussion. Any questions or comments or discussion about this? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to board policy IGBAFAR, the AR for that policy. Any discussion or comments? I know there's some slight changes,
And I just might add that the ones that have to be officially approved by the board, we will put those back on for action next time. Others that are just deleted or just simple changes for the law, we will put in consent agenda. If they do have optional language, we'll have them for action as well. Or for action next time.
Thank you for the clarification. Board policy IGBB, talented and gifted program. Any questions, suggestions, comments on that one?
I want to say that I'm so glad that we're revitalizing this program. I asked a question about it earlier today, and I was just glad to see that we're beefing this up, as you will. So.
If I may too,
Yes.
I might just add that we've added 504 and tag coordinators for each building. That really kind of puts another set of eyes on that and is intentional. Our partnership with Talent Maker City for some enrichment activities has been amazing. And so, yeah, thanks for sharing that, Polly. And we're excited to continue to give our kids opportunities to have enriching activities that qualify for talented and gifted.
Brent mentioned an email that he gave a link that's on the website that tells about all the different programs too. So if you're interested, you can go in there and look and see what's happening.
Thank you. Any other comments on that one? Okay, any comments on the AR for the IGBAR complaints regarding talented and gifted program? Okay, this is going to be fast. Board policy IGBBA, talented and gifted student identification description policy. Any questions, comments, concerns? None. Okay, moving on. The AR for that policy, the appeal procedure. Okay. Board policy IGBBC, talented gifted program services. Yes.
Yeah,
This
will just
one's
be
for
deleted.
deletion.
Yeah,
And then the
two.
next one is for deletion. Okay. Any questions about policies before we move on to homecoming? Okay. Homecoming. So sorry, this was so vague. I had a couple questions about it. Basically, we just wanted to talk about the planning of homecoming, since I'm not sure how many of you have walked in the homecoming parade since we of COVID. So I started doing in the past. Christy Sanders has been in charge and she's kind of been taking care of everything for me. But I started and Polly was gracious enough to say, hey, can I help you plan this? So Polly, do you want to explain what you've gotten?
So Brent is going to drive his truck and we can walk or ride in the back of the truck. And I also suggested that maybe district office staff could join us. What we need help with now is I could fill out the paperwork, but I would love for someone, maybe I could follow required on to write the announcer what they're going to say about who's on the float, not the float, but with our group, who is on that in that group and who we are. And then I'll submit that. And also it was asked by leadership, the leadership group at Phoenix High School to help judge a couple floats. So Rebecca, Dawn and myself are going to judge a couple different floats. Actually, the floats are right now, there are only two of them, the two student groups, and then the other two possible, this is like classes, right? Freshman through senior. So there might be some other ones too, but right now there's just two. So that's really all. And the last thing is I'd love for someone to procure some candy that we can throw
Yes,
out.
that was next. In the past, I've brought in candy. I don't mind bringing more. And I think Sarah's
And
gonna. bring-
I'll get candy too.
So, and if you want to bring candy, you can. If not, Sarah and I will be more than happy to provide that. I did get an email from Breezy today. I believe that they have signs, and then there's a parade route in this as well. If you need to know the parade route, I don't know if it's posted on the website or not, but
It's not, but we need to be here at 5.
okay. Okay. Pardon? Send. Okay,
Everybody got
perfect.
that,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I just wanted, I wasn't sure who all got it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, so be here at 5. 'cause they
Yeah, I
start
might
walking
add, the district
towards-
office staff was asked to help along the parade route, so they may not be joining the school board, but Breezy was in need of parade route supervisors, so we've had some good people step up in that regard.
Where exactly are we meeting?
In front of the high school.
And I would recommend getting here before 5. The closest to 5 you get, or a little minute after, is a lot longer walk. So if you want to find parking, it's easier to get here maybe like a few minutes before 5.
I would even say sooner than that. If you really, yeah, because they're
Yeah.
gonna start shutting off streets, I think, too, so. Ray's isn't that
4:45.
far, so I might just park at Ray's and walk up the street just to kind of be, that would be mine.
Coming in from the back, Culver.
Or the DO.
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna be in the middle of the parade route at the DO, so if you. That was a veteran suggestion. From someone who lives on Bowles and isn't gonna worry about parking.
So any questions on what that's going to look like? Okay.
Are we all just wearing some sort of Phoenix Talent Rising something?
I was thinking
Are we
about this
decorating?
too.
Fronts?
Yeah,
Are we doing anything like?
I have a shirt that I bought from track and field that has my name on the back that I think I'm gonna wear. But maybe one of the school t-shirts that we've been given. Or we have one.
Does everybody
I
have school?
don't have one, but would it be? I do, but I gave it to my child because it was so
We have
huge,
plenty. We just
and
made
we
a
ended
big
up,
order too, so we'll
ruining it, but yeah.
and we just bought new colors too, so a black and a kind of a gray, so we'll get the board shirts as well too.
Okay.
So
So wear your Phoenix Talent swag. Oh gosh, I have so much. Over the years, I could dress head to toe and but wear your Phoenix Talent swag. And if you need to borrow one, I have a ton. Anything else about?
Oh, I was gonna say, is anyone putting anything in the back of your truck to sit on or just like the tailgate, or are they helping with any of that?
I have like some chairs in the back of my car that we can use and I'll just leave them in there till then. Some little shorties and some tall ones.
It's not a very long parade walk. I think it's like a mile or so. Yeah, if Rick goes, but I'm just letting people know so that they can decide if they want to bring their walking shoes. It isn't very far and you're stopping a lot, but again, I walk a lot, so yeah, don't bring your slips. Yes, and it's very, very fun. Okay. Anything else about homecoming before I move on? Okay, moving on is the draft agenda, I believe, right? The draft agenda. Does anyone have any comments about the draft agenda? I have a comment though. It didn't show the program report with the students. I wasn't sure if we were gonna. Well, sometimes yeah, but I thought we were gonna do students I wasn't sure. I'm asking, are
yeah,
students going
we'll
to
still have
also,
that, yeah,
I know,
yeah.
yeah,
No, I think Don's talking about, remember when we had the class come in and they asked specific questions to that? Yeah,
I was wondering if
So
we were
that's
doing 2 times the students, one with the interview and then one with a class. That was my question. if that's
Might
what we were
make a
doing.
really
Yes.
long daytime meeting if
It-
we did.
Well,
both of
and we
those.
probably should discuss that now.
And I don't know how many students have interviewed.
Or applied.
Well, the application day isn't until the 17th, so I don't know if you're gonna. A lot of them might not be as procrastination as me, but I would procrastinate until like midnight that night, so. I did. So,
We can push back the board policies and information discussion to the next meeting.
I think that's. a good
And
idea.
then have the program report with the students, identify the student government or whatever class wants to come in and have typically 6 or 7 questions for the board. And then we can just be audit committee appointment number 5, and then we'll push all those other things to the end, to the next meeting.
Denise, are you okay with that? Does that mess things up as far as policy, plan, calendar?
It's fine. I mean, we're very efficient with them anyway. And so
Well, we just read them a month ago, it feels like, so it was easy. I think I have a feeling that the policies up for discussion in this are gonna take some time. And I'd like to not rush them or take that much time out of a day for the students, so if possible, I think it's best to move those down. The information, what Brent suggested.
oh,
So add program report and cut off at 5. That information discussion could be fairly quick as well, too.
well, I think some of them might be a little bit longer, as Sarah said.
The
The
reports,
policies you're talking about.
where are you talking?
The draft information discussion policies.
We're
Yeah,
talking
we're
about
not-
moving those to the
Right.
next
Oh,
meeting.
okay. Yeah,
So after
perfect.
5
Yeah,
of information discussion, just move that to the next meeting, which would be. It's not JAB, is it?
No, it'd be November 3rd, I think.
Okay.
sorry to ask a question that and cause more work.
No, that should be about the students, and we do typically have that, and that's where the board gets valuable feedback, not just from student reps, but just kind of the
Okay, thank you so much. Michael will be surprised when he comes back to work on the agenda. He can text me. Anything else before I adjourn the meeting? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.